Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio, where we're on Saga 960. We've just chatted with Stefan Boyle, who is a marketing person in the UK. He's an expert on lead generation. He posts on social media frequently, but he's not an author. He's not a person that writes frequently. But a post that he sent out 2 days ago has gotten over 1.35 million views. And I think this post really spoke not necessarily just to the Queen, because it was about the Queen's funeral, but about how one individual can have a huge impact. And I want to read you the post, if I could, because I think it was very poignant, very authentic, and something that should be listened to. This man, in the Garrison Sergeant Major of London, Andrew Vern Stokes. You've probably never heard of him unless you're involved with the military. I hadn't. He typifies the very best of British. He was responsible for organizing the military to help deliver the perfect state funeral in front of the world. He achieved it. I'm sure he knew this was a very big deal. I wouldn't have thought he could have foreseen that reportedly between 4 and 5.1 billion people would be watching. At the top end, that's 63% of the world's global population. The Queen's funeral was the largest single event watched or streamed in history, and it was absolute perfection. Interestingly, it was Queen Elizabeth's coronation that was one of the first true international televised events. It was the TV ratings from that event that were used as a benchmark for many years, and now it will be yesterday's event. Can you comprehend the complexity of organizing the military precision of what we experienced yesterday? I really can't. And for very little recognition, let's be honest. Watching him march down the mall on his final inspection, the magnitude of what was happening must have hit him. But with all the stoicism that both the Queen and our military personify, he got the job done. Nobody does pomp and pageantry as well as the British, in my obvious, slightly biased opinion. Part of me does wish we could apply the same principles to running the country. Nothing woke about yesterday. No trying to please every part of society and often pleasing hardly anyone. No political correctness. Just straight up, this is how we do it. This is what it is. And the world loved it. Apart from the Republicans out there who moan constantly about the cost, colonialism, stolen stuff, etc., quick thought. Imagine the cost of advertising our nation to 5.1 billion people in such a magnificent way. Incalculable, I'd have thought, apart from it being huge. There's the ROI dullards who bang on about how much money we spend on our royals and what do they do for the country, etc. More importantly, thank you to Andrew Vern Stokes, MVO, for what must have been an immense amount of work. Yes, he's actually on LinkedIn. You, sir, are a true British hero. You did your Queen and the nation proud. And then he followed that up today with another post. Well, this is overwhelming. Over 1.3 million views, over 19,000 likes and counting. Over 1.2 million views in one day. Crazy. Thank you to everybody who has helped this post go viral. Most importantly, thank you and big respect to Andrew Vern Stokes, to which this post was dedicated. What a day, what a man, what an occasion. Putting the great back into Great Britain. We've always had it. We often forget it's there. Perhaps we should learn a little from our cousins across the pond about banging our own drum and promoting our best assets, instead of constantly being humble and self-deprecating. But stoicism, doing the best job, and just carrying on, as our beloved Queen and Vern Stokes demonstrated, is what we are truly great at. Long live the King. You know, I've never been a huge monarchist. But I've been a proud Canadian, and I've always appreciated the fact that we're not a republic, that we are a constitutional monarchy. I had the opportunity of meeting the Queen, Prince Philip, Prince Charles, in 1976, when I was invited to the opening of the Olympic Games in Montreal, Quebec. And I was involved in politics at the time, and it was an incredible experience. I wrote an article about it and had it published on the front page of the Markham Economist and Sun about teens' opportunity to meet the monarch. I think this post has resonated with people because it wasn't about themselves. It wasn't about the Queen. It was about an unrecognized individual that had a very major part in contributing to one of the most important days in British history. I think that the Canadian Mounted Police had a similar kind of impact, albeit far smaller. To me, I felt incredibly proud when I saw those Canadian Mounted Police at the front of the cavalcade, the parade, the ceremony. I'm not sure exactly what it's called, leaving the church. I was proud that they handled the lead of that incredible convoy in such a majestic way and in such a Canadian way, with their red uniforms and their hats and their horses. There is something about pomp and circumstance. There is something about tradition. There is something about stoicism. And when we were chatting earlier in the show about whether this could happen in whether January 6th could happen in the UK or, I'd say Canada, I don't think it could, because I think the constitutional monarchy, having the head of state being someone other than the elected prime minister or president, really does make our system of government different. And I think having that head of state that's above it all, above the politics, that signifies history, that signifies the country, but personified in an individual, even if you don't believe in a God-given right to be a monarch, I think is special. And I think it's superior. And I think that you couldn't help but watch that show of the Queen's funeral, the parades, the people, the world leaders, 2,000 and more that came from around the world, world leaders and other attendees, to pay respects, deep respects to someone that lived for 96 years, reigned for over 70 years, is very special. I was very honored to meet her. I was very honored to receive the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Award upon her the 60th anniversary of her coronation. And I'm very honored to be a Canadian, so a subject of the Queen historically and of the King today. And again, I'm not a monarchist, but I think it actually showed on Monday and for the last 10 days how significant it can be. And I do think that there's been some experiences in Canada, in the United States, elsewhere in the world of late, that show it's actually a pretty good system of government. Anyway, I want to echo the thoughts of appreciation, and not just to this gentleman, Andrew Vern Stokes, and not obviously to just Stephen Boyle, who's credited this gentleman with the incredible organization. But I want to pay tribute to everyone, all those military people, all the religious people, all the police people that pulled off an unbelievable event with world leaders, with royalty, with diplomats, with unbelievable people that came from around the world without a hitch. And I guess I'll leave you with one last thought. I saw a picture, and I don't think it was manufactured, I think it was real, of a football player, Beckham, who lined up and waited hours to go pay his respects to the Queen, and didn't skip the line, didn't use his VIP-ness to try to skip the line, just stayed in line with everybody else. I think that is also very authentic, very respectful. I wish I had that opportunity. God save the Queen, God save the King. That's our show for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Good night, everybody.